And we're back after the break, and it's part 2, spiritual war, belief systems, the wider reality, the multidimensional universe. Okay, there's just a few headlines to give you an idea about where we're going to go and how this is all going to get tied up. So if we accept the idea that every day, if you look at life from this particular perspective, there's always an opportunity to do something to be of help, to make a difference in the world, and there's an opportunity just to do something purely for yourself that benefits no one else. And that's a way to look at life. In my own personal experience, it's very important to have time for myself, me time, you time, really important. And then when you've recharged from that, then time to help other people. If you're constantly trying to help other people, my experience of all people who do this is they end up being worn out. And people who spend all the time just looking after themselves, they tend to get very, very bored, and they suffer from existential angst. They can't see the point of life anymore. So if you've got problems about not seeing the point of life anymore, go and help somebody in any way whatsoever. If you intend to be available to help people, it won't be long before people start approaching you in all sorts of ways. You might find someone just sitting down the station waiting for a train, and they can look really down. Could be just a couple of kind words can make all the difference. Right, let's get down to this then. I want to introduce you to a book called The Cosmic Trigger, and this is written by a guy called Robert Anton Wilson. He threw out the really interesting belief system which I'd like us to consider for this film, and this is as follows. The thinker thinks and the prover proves. Now, thinker is a bit of a clue, a bit of a cue. Yes, we're in the territory of the rational mind here, folks, so we've been here before, we're going to go here again today. So the thinker thinks and the prover proves is what Robert Anton Wilson came up with. Now, all scientists have actually found themselves getting hoodwinked by this one at different times, and other people too. If you have an experience or someone tells you a story and it moves you, then it's very easy to have thoughts about that experience or that story, and it can become quite convincing, and the next thing you are going to find yourself with is with your rational mind belief system. It'll go into autopilot. It's programmed to do this. It's automatic. This is no one's fault. We're designed like this. When a powerful thought form or belief system is presented, our automatic tendency of our rational mind is to start to marshal the evidence to prove it. So, for example, if it's cold every day and I feel like falling asleep, then I'm going to come with arguments and reasons and justifications to support that thought form that when it's cold I feel like going to sleep. Simple example, right? And you can apply this to everything. So let's apply it to what we were looking at in the last film, spiritual war. As soon as you start to look at life as a spiritual war, it's amazing what happens. An infinity of evidence presents itself to convince you there is a spiritual war going on. And then the next thing you know, you go around proselytizing to everyone that you know, and you start rounding people up to form your little army, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a spiritual war going on, guys. Come on, what are we going to do about it? Now, if it floats your boat, if that rocks your world, go for it. But I'm just here to say, all that is a belief system. And one of the things that I hope that I've made very clear throughout the films in the years we've been doing this is that the free person is the one that is not fixed into belief systems. And I have such great respect for chaos magic, which is something I studied in the past. What chaos magic tells us is this. The chaos magician has the freedom and the willpower to take on any belief systems. He can take on the belief system of a Bible Belt born-again Christian. He can take on the belief systems of a dyed-in-the-wool conservative. He can take on the belief system of a revolutionary anarchist. He can take on any belief system that he likes, knowing that all it is a belief system. He can take it on, he can play with it, he can learn from it, and then when he's finished, he puts it back in the box and he goes on about his day or her day. That's the power of chaos magic for you. So let's look at this. So someone starts to inhabit their belief system, it's all a spiritual war, and they start to get caught up in that. Then they can remind themselves that actually, this is just a belief system. Let's see how useful, let's see how helpful this is. And then what they can do is they can deliberately put it to one side and live their life without that belief system. Now, can you see how that's much more powerful and much more resourceful and much more liberating than to be stuck in a belief system? One of my saddest experiences in recent years was when a woman in her 30s who was having a conversation with me got all very serious. And here's something, when people get terribly serious, it's a bit of a warning light, isn't it? Because you can tell that could be a little bit of programming going on if they get terribly serious. It could be light-hearted to have a laugh about all these things. She pulled this newspaper cutting. Now, remember, she's in her 30s, and she got this newspaper article when she was 16, and basically what this newspaper article said, it said that all men are shit and all men want to rape women. And she had tucked this one away for more than 16 years, and she'd been carrying around this really hostile, negative belief system about all men. And she was a very, very unhappy woman, and she'd been in some very abusive relationships. What a surprise, because this is what her conditioning, what her programming been actually putting her in mind for. So every man that she attracted into her life was actually fulfilling this script. It was fulfilling this story, which had been implanted in there through the newspaper article. So, good and evil. Whenever a person describes themselves as good, I start to feel a little bit uncomfortable inside. Because actually, what we are is we're human beings. When all human beings are capable of acts which can be judged by some people to be good, and by other people, those same acts can be judged as evil. Yeah, that's alive, isn't it? It really is true. It's like the person tempting someone into a path which is not good for their development. You could think, well, that's not good, is it? That's evil. But actually, it could be that challenge to go down that path which could take them into some really murky depths could be just the thing that they need to realise that, hey, my back's against the wall, it's time I wake up, time I take on my full personal power, and time I make this my own life. Which goes back to the shamanism again. Shamans traditionally like to have an experience of being completely enslaved by petty tyrants. I was lucky I had two when I was in education, and they completely controlled my life at that point in my work, and they actually were preventing me from being validated as a recognised state school teacher. And they played that game for 2 solid years before I got my union involved and got my full retrospective validation as a officially recognised state school teacher. So that was a little battle that I fought with help. Other people were kind and helped me with that, and I actually managed to overcome what was thrown against me. So what I'm saying is, when my wife was getting very angry about the way these guys were treating me, she might have wanted to see them as being evil, but they were giving me this great gift. And I've thanked them many times since, because they were teaching me, they were training me to become strong. And they were training me to have the qualities of what I call the Lycopodium club moss. And homeopathy is a fascinating discipline, and all different plants can be used to make homeopathic remedies. The Lycopodium club moss is a plant which clings on to life and endures no matter what. Rain, snow, hail, cold, hot makes a difference. Lycopodium keeps on growing, and that's what I learned to do, to keep on growing through all I went through. So, good and bad, what another illusion that we have to present to ourselves to reevaluate. So it's another one, is another belief system, good or bad. Sometimes I find myself using these words, even to be able to talk in the film, I find myself using them, as you noticed. But it's all relative. Always, all the time, all relative. So, thanks to Robert Anton Wilson for reminding me that I've got this automatic programming from my rational mind that tends to want to prove anything that I want to attach myself to in terms of belief system. So, spiritual war, play with it as a belief system. Don't get attached to it, don't get hooked on it. That's my advice to you. Okay, that's the end of part 2.